Hey everybody, welcome to the presentation. I'm John Pierce with AWS. This is being recorded. The link will be provided to you all so that you can review it at your leisure at any time. Also, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat box. We'll get to questions at the end of the presentation. Next slide. And there we go. A little bit about myself. My name is John Pierce. I'm a recruiter here at AWS. I am rounding 3 years with AWS, 13 total years of talent acquisition in the cleared and commercial space. Currently, I focus on data centers, and that's technical or facilities maintenance roles. And again, cleared or commercial for those data centers. I am also a Hiring Our Heroes host for SkillBridge as well. For fellowships. Next slide. To give you a general overview of AWS, we are a cloud service provider. We are the world's most comprehensive and broadly adopted cloud platform. You may have heard of others. We're not going to talk about those. But we've pioneered cloud computing, and we continue to innovate that, which is one of the reasons that we're looking for some of the best and brightest to join our team. Next slide. We do have a focus on diversity, inclusion, and equity. It's part of the culture here at AWS. To go along with that, and as it relates to you all, we did in 2022 pledge to hire 45,000 military veterans. We crushed that goal in year one, and then reset the goal to 100,000 by 2025, which we actually exceeded in July of 2023. The new goal is pending, so stand by for that. But we are committed to hiring veterans and spouses through a lot of different partnerships and retraining or upskilling programs. We do also have multiple affinity groups for military spouses and transitioning service members or active duty service members as well. We do charitable giving, and we have returnship programs. Next slide. A question that I get a lot is, where do I find roles and where do I apply? So I would say as service members, there are 4 general ways that you can get to or apply to positions here with Amazon as a company or AWS specifically. The first is going to be the veteran and spouse homepage. That's going to be amazon.jobs/en/military. And that is going to be the landing page where you can go to see the general overview. You'll see 2 options, veteran or spouse, that you can click on, which will take you to specific landing pages for those groups. Or if you scroll down, you can simply see overviews and information about all of the different programs that we partner with, whether it's SkillBridge or Hiring Our Heroes or some of the local ones based on regions. The next link that you see there is the VetLine Skills Translator. That is, if you're struggling to understand how your experience directly translates to what Amazon or AWS does as a whole, follow that link, enter in, your MOS, years of experience, your current rank, and a clearance level. And it'll actually show you the roles that prior service members that have been hired with us, whether it's with Amazon or AWS, where they've landed, job level, and the job type that they've seemed to land in most effectively. The third link is the general Amazon.jobs landing page or homepage for job search. Pretty generic. You go there, you type in keywords, you can filter by location, virtual, non-virtual. That's the same exterior or career job search page that every candidate will see, whether they're prior service or not. And the fourth link is kind of focused on the business that I support. That is our clear job search page. So that is a list of positions, whether it's with our dedicated cloud group, our UC teams, or even our early career talent teams. But all of that is focused on government support and utilizing, whether it's skill set or clearance, what you bring to the table. Next slide, please. So a little bit about what we look for, and some of this is going to be really familiar for all of you. It's our leadership principles. Those leadership principles are focused on kind of the core operating guidance, whether it's customer obsession or ownership or invent and simplify. These are the tenets that drive our way of doing things. So one of my favorite ones is bias for action. Don't stand around waiting for someone to tell you what to do. Identify the problem, find the solution, implement. But these are going to relate to not just job performance and expectations, but also that'll play into the questions that we ask you in our behavior-based questions during the interview process. Most of these, again, are leadership principles that you probably already possess through your service, or just naturally based on who you are. Next slide, please. I want to thank everybody for joining. We are going to open it up here for questions in a second, but I do want to let everybody know that there is going to be another webinar on February 28th, and we will have two graduates, Alex Clift and Jake Devlin, will be joining one of my team members to talk about other parts of opportunities or other opportunities here at Amazon. All righty. First question. Let's see. I've applied for a few jobs and not had any callbacks. What can I do to increase my chances? First, the simplest way that I can respond to that is make sure that your resume is tailored to the job that you're applying for, and try to avoid leaving a lot up to assumptions. So if you are applying for a facilities engineer role and you have 7 years of that, make sure that that 7 years is listed throughout your resume, and make sure that you're calling it out as facilities maintenance, management, or troubleshooting. The other thing that I will say is be persistent. A lot of folks get very frustrated with how long it takes to get into a company, whether it's Amazon or any major tech company or any major company in the world. The industry average is 5+ applications. And that doesn't mean you just fire off 5 applications at one time. That means you are applying 5 separate dates to different jobs before you get into a position. And that's industry average, which means sometimes it's going to be higher, sometimes it's going to be lower. But if you're tailoring your resume to the role that you're applying for and you're making sure that you meet all of the basic qualifications, those things can help increase your chances of success. The other thing that I would say is utilize LinkedIn. If you have connections that work at that company, reach out to them, leverage them. It's not, sometimes there's a negative perception or feeling about reaching out to friends or family members that have positions with certain companies. Don't hesitate. That's why they're your friends and their family, because you all, have matched up, whether it's experience-wise or career-wise or personality-wise. They're going to be a huge advocate and also a benchmark. If they're successful in that company and you get along with them, you will probably possess the same leadership principles or experience or background that they do, which would mean you would probably be successful as well. All right. Let's see here. My skill set does not necessarily transfer to civilian life. How do I set out my resume so that it outlines my full experience and abilities? This is a good one, especially for folks that have particular skill sets that it's tough to write about in a professional resume. My advice there is generalize your experience as it relates to kind of a corporate environment. So for example, if you were operating heavy machinery, potentially combat equipment, kind of reword that. I was responsible for operating heavy equipment, multi-million-dollar heavy equipment. I was maintaining it, troubleshooting, ensuring compliance, teaching others and mentoring others to utilize equipment. You don't have to reference what it was. That's unnecessary, but it's important that you reference that you did that. If you were leading a team of people doing activities, operations management, responsible for managing and leading team operations in multiple locations across the world. Those types of things are going to transfer, because that's what we're looking for in a lot of roles. Operations management is huge, pretty much every company. So understanding that, and also if you have questions, reaching out to people that are in those types of roles to ask them to help you word your resume or tailor your resume to those positions. It looks like we have... Okay. I always thought Amazon would not have a job that fit my military expertise. Is that the case? No. Well, for the most part, no. So generally speaking, Amazon has almost every type of role that you could imagine, from Amazon Care, Amazon Pharmacy, Amazon Air, Amazon Prime, AWS, and a host of other organizations or subsets of Amazon. I mean, including physical security. So if you are looking for a position, it's just a matter of finding the right role through that job search page, not a matter of whether or not it exists. And that, just to piggyback off of that, that is something that I would say about most large organizations. You would be surprised at the types of positions that those companies do have that aren't generally advertised or well known about. For example, up until a few years ago, most people didn't know that Amazon did anything other than Amazon Prime, shipping and logistics. I think that at this point there are 20 plus subcategories of businesses that operate under Amazon, at least 20. All right. I have talked to other grads who struggled to transition out of the military. Does Amazon have support resources to assist? Yes. We kind of touched on this at the beginning as far as the inclusivity and diversity focus that we have here at AWS and Amazon. But we have multiple affinity groups, and that's for veterans, for spouses, and also for advocates like myself. Outside of that, we partner with a lot of organizations, whether they're military focused or non-military focused, but in order to help provide transition services or just services in general. So yes. And let's see here. When should I start looking for a career outside of the service? This is going to vary depending on the company that you're applying with or who you talk to be honest. My recommendation is 2 years. And the reason for that is I'm a huge advocate for those SkillBridge or fellowship programs, those transition programs that I mentioned earlier, just as an additional buffer. And it's something that you've already earned through your service. But I say 2 years for this reason. You have your educational background and your understanding of the general area of where you're looking to go. That first year, I recommend that folks spend it connecting with companies, recruiters like myself, at large organizations, small organizations, whatever it may be, so that they can start having those conversations and understanding if there are still any skill gaps. About 1 year, once you hit that 1 year mark prior to exit date, then you start interviewing. And when I say interviewing, I mean interviewing for full-time positions or transition program roles. That way, if there is a skill gap still, SkillBridge or any of the other programs that are available to transitioning service members, a lot of companies will partner up. They'll host you in that role that you're interested in and help you bridge that gap for the next 6 months. I think it's 180 days prior to exit date of service. And that's why you should start interviewing for those roles 1 year before you exit service, so that by the 6 month mark, you have something lined up. Or in certain cases, like with the way that we interview here at AWS, you may have an offer for a full-time job. Because that is one thing that we do specifically. We will interview you for the full-time position first. If there is a skill gap, we'll look to do the fellowship to bridge that gap, or the upskill or the early career talent program. If there isn't a gap, we will just offer you that job and hold it for that 6 months or until exit date. I think that's everything for me. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining. And just a reminder again, on February 28th, we're going to have another AWS or Amazon webinar to talk about opportunities and careers with us. Thanks.